Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to do the hashtag coffee house decks. I saw this one on Rhiannon's channel, Rhiannon Rambles and Readings, and I'm going to do her bonus point as well. And this is a VR to Amidst the Gray, and all the information as well as the questions or prompts will be in the description box. I have quite a few decks here in front of me. I got the prompts written down, so let's just get into this and see which of my decks resemble what kind of hot beverages. Okay, the first one is the Espresso, a deck that's strong, punchy, straight to the point. The deck that I chose for that one is my Vampiria Tarot. And I'm so happy that the books that this is based on are finally being released in other languages as well, because this is a French deck, and so far also the books have only been published in French. And I really want to get to know the characters, so I'm gonna have to wait until fall of 2023 to get this. But yeah, this is the deck, and the reason why I chose this one is because this one really doesn't care about my feelings at all. This is the kind of deck that just gives it to me straight, and it's a bit pippish, but illustrated pips in a way. And yeah, this is the kind of deck that's just like, okay, you ask the question, here's what we can tell you, and if you don't like it, please take your feelings somewhere else. This is not our problem. So yeah, this is the story takes place at the court of Versailles with Louis XIV. And yeah, I guess that's also the kind of place where feelings don't really matter. It's all about politics, it's about business, and that's what this deck is all about. So this is, yeah, strong, punchy, straight to the point. Number 2, the drip. Simple, accessible, gets the job done. For that one, I chose one that I've been working with a lot, and that's my Haunted House Tarot by Sasha Graham. And I mean, if you've been on my channel for a while, you've seen me use this deck over and over again in my life readings. You also probably know by now that I'm writing on the cards, like you can see writing here everywhere, because I don't just use this as a deck for readings for myself, for others, but I also write down interesting things. Like whenever I hear something about a card and I don't want to forget it, I just write it down. I'm trying to find one where I can easily see it. Of course, now I can't find one. I try to make it not too obvious, but yeah, you can see there's writing everywhere. And this is one that's not going to be finished anytime soon. I love this King of Swords. Oh my God, like his chess game, the way that he is just focused on everything. Love that. So this is, yeah, it gets the job done. It's very accessible. Even though there is one card in here, the Ace of Swords, that might be a bit triggering to people because it looks like a person cutting themselves, but it's not. Yeah, but other than that, this is a very good deck to work with for me, and very easy. The pictures always invite me into their world, and I can always find new details every time I read with it. All right, number 3, the Pour Over. A deck you need to take your time with, but totally worth the effort. And for me, that's the Röhrig Tarot. Now I have the Czech version here. I do have this in multiple versions. I've got the big German version from way back when. I got the new 2020 edition in English, the big cards. I have the Spanish version that I trimmed, which is a pocket-sized deck, and I got this one because it has the gold on the side. This is a bit glossy, but yeah, this is a deck. This was done by a painter who himself doesn't work with tarot at all. He just wanted to step into the footsteps of other painters who have also done a tarot deck. He himself is in Scientology, so whatever he designed here was never meant to be used for fortune telling in that way. he went the route of, you know, psychology and using this for self-reflection, self-awareness, getting to know yourself better, and all these kind of things. And so this is definitely a deck that I need to sit with. And yes, there are boobs in here and male genitalia as well. So yeah, but this is also a deck that has a lot of references to German culture, because he is a German painter, and well, he lives in Switzerland now, Karl Röhrig, and he has put his cultural influences of that time into the deck. And it also, like with this deck, it really helps to understand the painter and his world better. There was a very interesting documentary done by Scientology about him, where he talks about the process of how he paints, what he paints, why he paints certain things, how he sees the world, what influenced him, and all of that is also very helpful when it comes to reading with this deck. So this is definitely something that I would not use in a in an online reading or for someone else if I just want quick answers. No, this is like you pull one card and you kind of get lost in there. So number 4, the CAFE LATTE, a well-received deck and highly palatable. And this one is my classic RWS, because I thought the word well-received, like if I would take this deck with me and put it on the table so that other people can see that I'm doing readings, like everyone knows this deck. This is probably the most recognized tarot deck around the world. And that's why I chose this in here. And also, like, most of the images in here, I mean, yeah, people know this, but it's, I don't know if this is, after all this time, still triggering for people, or the Tower card or the Devil, I don't know. But, I mean, people know this deck, they're familiar with it, and therefore it's not so much of like a surprise moment when you put the cards in front of the people, especially someone who has never had a reading before. And unless, or unlike other decks of cards, for example, the Haunted House, like if I took that one with me and I would have someone who has never had a reading and then they get certain cards, they might be kind of like, no, I'm too afraid of that. Or yeah, like this, I think is just the easiest, the most obvious deck, and so that's why I chose this as the well-received deck. Where are we? Number 5, the Cappuccino. Classic, sophisticated, and maybe a bit fussy. Now for that one, I chose my Hermetic Tarot, because with the words classic and sophisticated, I was thinking of like back to the roots, kind of origin stuff. And so the sophistication in this for me comes from the fact that this is Golden Dawn inspired, and there's specific occult and esoteric symbols in here. It's not just pretty pictures. All these things here have like specific reasons, and they relate to the 32 paths on the Tree of Life. And yeah, that's where the sophistication comes from. And reading with these kinds of decks, or with this one in particular, I have had well, not so much attitude from this deck, but it was more like very neutral. Also, it's not as much I don't care about your feelings like the Vampiria, but this is also like very like there's not much bells and whistles about it. This is like really straight to the point. And this is the kind of deck that if I would ask again or rephrase the question to see what else comes up, then it might get some kind of attitude. And I like that about this deck, actually, that it wants to be taken seriously, and this is not one to mess around with. So get the message the first time. And another deck that I have just received, I haven't worked with it yet, but I could imagine this also falling into the same category, would be the Thoth, because that is also for me in the category of sophisticated classic, and I suspect that this deck might have some bitch please moments. Okay, number 6 is the MOCHA, a rich, indulgent, but a bit extra. For that, I chose my Ludi Lescott tarot, and this one has mostly vampires in it. It's a very dark deck from the artwork. This is also the same artist who created the Initiatory Golden Dawn tarot. Both of these decks are Los Scarabeo. And Ludi Lescott knew about the Initiatory Golden Dawn deck and wanted the same artist to create her deck, and thankfully that worked out. And yeah, that's why I love both of these decks. I just love this art style. And yeah, it's very rich, and there's so much that, like, each of these pictures just tells a story. And I find these to be very versatile for different kinds of readings. And what was the other thing? A bit extra, yeah, because some of these things in here, let me find out. Like when you see her face, like the way that she is acting in the situation, that is what I would consider a bit extra. Like when they're it's like they know they're being photographed, and so they're just dialing up their emotions even more. You know, just it's a bit blurry here. And that's where the bit extra comes from for me. Like here, and Laura's like she's being bitten, and there's another guy coming to the rescue, but too late. So those kind of things, and yeah, how these people here act in the cards. That's the bit extra part. This deck is sadly out of print. I was lucky enough to get one of the last ones before it went finally out of print, and that's why mine looks a little bit different. Normally it has the Ankh on here, but I got an Italian version. Okay, the number 7 is the Cortado, a balanced and objective deck. For that one, I chose the Stretch Tarot, because this one is, for me, well balanced in the fact that it has people on it. It's a collage deck, so there's like a bunch of different things put together. It has people, objects, it's got keywords, which I like. It's got people from different times, and it's just a really pretty deck. And even though it looks very dark, but I find this deck to be very comforting and easygoing. So in that sense, like very well balanced. And even something like this with the 10 of Swords, it's like there's just needles stuck into this painting, and there's like wax from a candle and things like that. So it's pretty cool. And the fact that it's collage, that's what gives this balance thing. And objective, yeah, this deck doesn't try to persuade me into any kind of direction when I'm reading with it. This is very much, okay, this is what it is. Let's have a cup of tea. Let's talk about this, kind of. That's what I get from this deck. And I mostly use it for past life readings, which is an emotional topic in and of itself, because the things that you can discover there can be very, well, they can definitely do something with you. And so for that, I would always want to go with a deck that's a little bit more gentle, and objective is always good and that kind of stuff, so that you can really dig through certain things and find what it is that you need to work with on yourself, and you know, things like that. Number 8, the Con Panna. It puts you in your place with a hint of sweetness. For that one, I chose the Monopoly Tarot, the Life is Like a Board Game tarot deck, because this one has some pretty harsh titles, like for example, the Not Interested Place. What else do we have? Or we have the Anxiously Stressed Out Way. But then we also have like Quick Communications Garden. We have like the majors are these cards. And whatever this deck tells you, like the mentally stuck way, things like that, you can't really be mad at this deck. You know, like it has like very simple things, but it also has the nice stuff. Wishes Come True Place, or Future Plans Garden, even the Heavy Burdens Garden. Like when you see something like this, it's like, ugh. But when you put all of these cards together in a spread, like I can't really be too doom and gloom with this deck. It's a funny way of dealing, or not funny, but it's a more relaxed and easygoing way of dealing with difficult questions, maybe. So sometimes that's why I go with this one, because it makes it a little bit more colorful and therefore a little bit easier to deal with things. Next is the number 9, the Chai Latte. It's warm, cozy, and nurturing. And for that one, I chose a deck that was original by She Who Shall Not Be Named, but we all know it's Radley Valentine's deck, and I waited until this came out with only his name on it, even though her name is somewhere on the box here, in as previously known as by whatever. But this is the deck that if I want to get a message, but I really can't handle any kind of negative thoughts, or like I just want a hug, then that's when I turn to this deck, because even something like the Devil or the Tower have like very I'm trying to find one here. Like here, the 10 of Action is the 10 of Wands, for example. And this one says, you're working too hard. The angels are asking you to find a healthy balance between your career and your personal life. Be willing to ask for help from others in order to lighten your load so that you can take better care of yourself. Straining to make others happy can be harmful to your health. So these kind of messages, like put the thing, like give me the message without taking away from the seriousness, but with whipped cream on top, kind of. So this is the, yeah, I'm going to sit down with it. I'm going to have my tea. I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to take my time with this, and it's not going to be like a straightforward black coffee, no cream, no sugar kind of stuff. Like, let's just deal with it. Let's be all business. No, this is the, I'm going to take my time with this, and I'm going to nurture myself through the situation. And I mean, the guidebook and the box, I don't know if you can see that, but it has glitter on it. I mean, how can you not like that? So that is my chai latte. The next one is number 10, the matcha latte. It's an acquired taste, a bit unconventional. And for that one, I chose a deck that I have not yet worked with. I just received it. I bought this one for myself for Christmas, and that is the Tarot of Magical Correspondences. And this one is by Eugene Vinitsky. It's a deck that comes from Switzerland, and it is still available. You can get it either on Etsy, or if you're in Europe, directly from the seller's website. And this is a very particular deck. Like, you have all of these weird looking objects on here and symbols, but this is a direct representation of the Tree of Life and the 32 paths and all the things that are talked about it in like the path. Like when you go into the readings from, for example, one book that I'm reading is The Paths of Wisdom by John Michael Greer, I think is his name. And so in there, They talk about, like, first of all, you find out where exactly is this card located on the tree of life, because all of the cards have a place on the tree. And then you get the letter, you get the translation of the letter, you get a certain kind of symbols that come with that. You have the number on each card that is like from the letter, and how that how you calculate that together. And yeah, so there's a lot in these cards, and I want to use them as references for my Golden Dawn studies, and in particular the Tree of Life studies with tarot. And so far I can say the major arcana are amazing. The minor arcana are lacking for me because they are way too similar throughout the suits. And like if you put, for example, the four of the same number, let's say the 4 3s next to each other, you will find the same things over and over in each card, and there's just one thing different, and that's actually the suit. So in that sense, I wish they would have been more helpful when it comes to studying these things, because there's a lot more. But yeah, I want to use that as a starting point for my studies. Next is number 11, the hot chocolate, which speaks to a younger self, a younger version of me. And the only deck that I can put in that category is my Sailor Moon Tarot. This was the first one that I got. I was 18 when I got it. This came in a special magazine, so I could rip the cards out of that magazine, as you can see from these things here. And it's a majors only deck, but I've had some really, really good readings, and I've seen a few Sailor Moon decks that have been created over the years, fan art, not licensed. I've seen other kinds of decks, like there's the 25-year anniversary edition, which is a nice collector's item, but you can't really read with it. But this one here is actually, like, whoever put this deck together really did their homework. This came with a magazine that explains the stuff, and everything in this deck makes total sense to me. And when I'm reading with it, I can go into the picture and into the scene that was happening right there in the series, and go with that, whatever was happening, who the characters are, how they behaved. So this is a very good reading deck for me. So that's my Sailor Moon deck. And this was only ever published in Germany, and it came out in August 1999. And there's still a few available on eBay here and there. For the most part, yeah, this was only ever released here over 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago. Wow. All right, the next one is the Italian soda. It's fun, low-key, and not overly serious. And for that, I also only had one deck that would fit that description. What? No, I'm dropping my Housewives Tarot, because I think this one is kind of fun. It's not too serious, but with some of these, I need a moment to really get into that. And on the other hand, it's also a kind of deck that you can just take anywhere and do readings for other people who have never had a reading, because there's just no scary cards in this deck. This is really fun. And yes, I trimmed mine. I cut all of these things around, what are they called? Edges? No. Kind of like frames. I cut those off because they had different colors, and that was very disturbing for me. So now it looks like a cohesive deck. And yeah, this is like very low-key, fun, not too serious, but it still brings the message through. My Housewives Tarot. Then we have number 13, the herbal tea. And for that, I have 2 decks, but I could use or choose a lot more decks in this category. And this one says, it takes things down a notch and helps unwind. And so the only thing that I can put in this category are oracle decks. And one that I use or like to use is the Psychic Tarot by John Holland, but it's not actually a tarot deck. This is an oracle deck because I believe the tens are missing. All the court cards are missing, and instead of those cards, it has, and now I can find, oh, here, it has the chakra cards in it. And so, yeah, with this deck, this is one that I pull in addition to a reading, or even before I start a reading, I might pull one of these cards to see, okay, what's my overall topic? What am I looking into? Sometimes I just sit down for a reading for myself without asking a particular question. And then I would get one of these cards and see, okay, let's look into that. And then I take out a tarot deck and do some additional reading with that based on the signifier card, for example. So yeah, like if I say, okay, I get this chakra, so what do I need to work on with that chakra? Where is something not in balance? Another oracle deck that I use in this kind of way is the Metatron Oracle by Amanda Alice. And these cards are also very, very soft and gentle, but the guidebook is really good, has lots of messages in it. And so this is one that I can just sit with and just sip my tea, look at what's going on, take this as a starting point for a reading, or pull a card after a reading for some closing arguments, so to speak. Yeah, that's how I use this one. And now we are at the bonus prompt, and that's the Frappuccino. And this one is a basic bitch that loves being that girl. And for this one, I chose my Mystical Universe deck. This is a black and white deck. I got this one on Etsy. I haven't really seen this anywhere else. These are the backs. I did a flip through first impressions of this deck on my channel. And with this deck, this is one that I use in my weekly studies for the Paths of Wisdom kind of thing, the 32 paths. And when I get to one of the actual paths, and therefore one of the majors, I have this workbook that we use in our studies. And for each of the majors, there are some prompts, and we pull cards. And this is the kind of deck that, let's say, I was going to talk about the Magician. So the Magician was the topic of the study for that day. And I would look into the prompts, and then first question, whatever the question is, and as an answer, I would actually get the Magician. So it's that kind of, it happened before. I think it was with the Justice card that whatever question I asked first, and Justice came up as the answer. So the question is the answer. It's that kind of mind game kind of thing in a way. And also because of the way that this is illustrated, it gives me also a different way of looking at the cards, finding interpretations that fit with whatever is going on in my life, so I can relate my studies back to what's going on. So yeah, and it's like this deck has a certain kind of humor about it, like answering the question with the question kind of thing. So yeah, she's that girl. All right, so those are my decks for the Coffee House decks hashtag. And thanks for putting this one out. This was really a lot of fun. And yeah, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.